Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Chinda, for that wonderful introduction. And the one thing I will say as we dig into this is staff at the NACVA is probably the finest staff you will ever find. And they are responsive and knowledgeable. So do not hesitate to reach out if you need help. They are tremendously good people, which is part of the reason why this show works so well. One other quick disclaimer, this is continuing education. It is not final advice. Here is the team from around the valuation world, our correspondent team, many of which are also involved, or most of which at this point are also involved with current updates in valuation, the 8-hour continuing education show. Please attend Around the Valuation World as often as you can, and do take the current updates and valuations course. A tremendous amount of work goes into keeping that both very current, but also covering essential things. At this point, we are going to click over to Global Association News, and Brian Jones, who needs no introduction. He's the, I don't even know your exact title, but
Chief Cook and Bottle Washer.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, he's the guy I talk to for everything really important at the NACVA. And so Brian is here, and he is going to take over this session with Jonathan Jackson. And so I am going to let the two of you introduce yourself a little bit if you wish, and carry on. And I will click off and be back as you wrap. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. Good morning, Jonathan, and happy anniversary to you.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yes.
I can't believe I just was thinking about that. Just hit the 2-year mark.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's been a great 2 years. Thank you for that.
I agree. For those of you who don't know Jonathan, he is our executive director. He joined the NACVA 2 years ago as of July 31st, I believe. So
Right.
Friday last week, we celebrated 2 years of Jonathan's support to the organization and to the members. He will certainly be joining me in this segment of Around the Valuation World as part of his role is involved with how our members get involved throughout the organization, whether it be through being elected by a board, being involved in a committee or a task force, or supporting our state chapters. This segment of Around the Valuation World, we are pleased to honor our members who have rolled up their sleeves with the organization over the past year to help us achieve some really wonderful things. And so we'll just get rolling with it, actually. You can change the slide. And Jonathan, do you want to speak a bit about our boards and committees?
Yeah. So we.
Boards, rather?
Sure. Thank you, Brian. We have board elections every year for our 5 boards, and the boards rotate probably 2 to 3 seats, I would say, on each board. And we kick off those elections every January, and we wrap those up right around the beginning of May. And so watch for our messaging around that time. If you have interested in volunteering on a board, that's the timing of the election cycle. And so this year we had a high watermark with board nominations. Starting in January, we accepted nominations for the 5 boards, and we had a high watermark. We just had fantastic interest in those wanting to serve on a board, and so we had a record-breaking nomination cycle. And through that, then we launched the ballots for voting and announced those new board members. Wrap that up in May and then announce them in June. So what you see here, the screen, is our executive advisory board, which has oversight over the other 4 boards and leads the strategic initiative of NACVA. And we want to thank our previous chair, of our Executive Advisory Board, Karen Casino, who served, the chair term is a year-long term. So she served from June 2019 to May 31st, actually, 2020. And also thank Lorenzo Carver for serving on the board, his 3 years tenure on the Executive Advisory Board. And then I also want to welcome the newly elected 2 members of the Executive Advisory Board, Sarah Spells-Lowell from Colorado and Carrie Merrifield from California. So welcome to them. Now, this is our Ethics Oversight Board. And the Ethics Oversight Board has authority over NACVA related to adhering to standards. And if there's an ethics violation and whatnot, this is the board that oversees the process of reviewing, investigating, and resolving any ethics complaints that come in through our website. So we want to thank Christopher Hatcher from Kentucky, Neil Patel from New Jersey, and Chuck Persing for New Jersey. The 3 of them for serving on the Ethics Oversight Board. They all served 3-year terms. And we also want to welcome John Barrett from Rhode Island, Sheila Darby from Texas, and Cheryl Hyder from Maryland, our 3 newly elected board members to the Ethics Oversight Board. Welcome.
I think Cheryl may be from Virginia. I think.
Perhaps.
Or Maryland.
Virginia or Maryland. It's on one side of the Potomac. I'm not sure which side.
Nah, Cheryl's on the wrong side. She's over in Virginia, I can assure you.
Okay.
Talk to her almost every day.
All right, the other side of the Potomac. Both great places. Wonderful. So that's the Ethics Oversight Board. If you want to go to the next slide. Now, Brian, do you want to go over the litigation forensics boards? Do you
Sure.
liaise
Absolutely.
with them?
The Litigation Forensics Board, their major purpose in serving the organization is to oversee the processes by which the Master Analyst in Financial Forensics, our MAFF certification, is defined through its body of knowledge, through its training curriculum, through its examination, continuing education, and other support. In addition to the overseeing the process of the Master Analyst in Financial Forensics, the board also works towards programs that help the organization, such as a pro bono program, allowing our membership to serve in pro bono cases, to give these members experience to either grow their practice or get additional experience in financial litigation matters. Other areas that our Litigation Forensics Board is working on is to compare organizations who have standards to the standards of the NACVA to provide guidance and training, continuing education, and resources to help those who practice in financial litigation to have a little bit clearer picture as to how to stay out of a Daubert challenge or getting challenged by the courts. On our Litigation Forensics Board, we're pleased to acknowledge the new ones coming on, Tracy Conan, Christine LaRusso, and Laurie Maston, but also to appreciate those going out, Carrie Merrifield, Bill Diddy, and Michael Packager. Great board to work with.
Yeah, if you want to go over the standards board as well, since you work with them.
Absolutely. Our standards board obviously is pretty straightforward. They're tasked to oversee the update and renewal of any issue relating to our professional standards. This board also produces the standards comparison chart. Hopefully most of you have used or referenced. It compares the NACVA standards to the standards of business valuation organizations in North America, but it also, a separate chart, compares the NACVA standards to leading international associations. At the nacva.com main page under association, if you hover over the association in the upper left-hand corner, About halfway through the list, you'll see a link for professional standards. If you click that link, you can get access to the the standards comparison charts for both domestic and international, but other resources to help you understand how to apply standards to your engagements. We appreciate our outgoing standards board members, those being Zach Myers, who served as chair of the standards board for 2 terms, and also Alan Zip. Coming on board for this term are Mallory Ashbrook, Cindy Collier, and Trish, I'm going to mispronounce her name, the awesome Trish from Florida. We're so glad to have them joining our board, and our standards board is doing some wonderful things. In the next few months, you will start to see us publishing an updated frequently asked questions, which the board is reviewing those questions, and we'll post them publicly. We'll also soon be issuing a standards hotline. This board has been very active in putting together resources for the membership and the profession at large. We thank them for their service. And poll question.
One question. Thanks, Brian. So, next is the Valuation Credentialing Board. So the Valuation Credentialing Board, they oversee certification criteria related to NACVA's Certified Valuation Analyst, the CVA designation. And the VCB has oversight responsibilities, ensuring that NACVA maintains its requirements associated with its 2 accrediting bodies. The 2 accrediting bodies are the NCCA, the National Commission for Certifying Agencies, and the other one is ANSI, the American National Standards Institute. So NACVA's CVA designation is one of 5 credentials across the globe that has both of these accreditations. This is a really big deal, and it's something we're very proud of. And so the VCB, Valuation Credentialing Board, oversees this accreditation. And just to give you a little bit of perspective, this accreditation that we've obtained, which we just obtained at the end of 2019, many of you have heard about it. No other business valuation credential in the world can boast this level of integrity and the transparency, which really is a key distinction between the CVA credential and the ABV and the ASA and now the CEIV. So we're proud of the hard work that we put into achieving this accreditation for the CVA credential, and its added credibility and integrity of that credential. And so we want to thank Sarah Speltz-Lobel for her tenure on the VCB, serving as chair. She was recently elected to the Executive Advisory Board. Also, Kelly Allen was a past chair. He is coming off the VCB, along with Randy Gullickson and Robert Weinstock. Now we want to welcome our newly elected Charlotte Clark from Utah, Denise French from Texas, Baria Giroudi, also from Texas, and then Gary Harden from Ohio. And Gary Harden, as part of our accreditation, we have a public member, somebody that's a receiver of our services who is not affiliated with NACVA. It's part of our requirements for our accreditation, and so Gary Harden is our newest public member, is what we call him, serving on the Valuation Credentialing Board. So thanks to those coming on the board. Next slide. So this gives you an idea who is serving currently on the Executive Advisory Board. And you can access these individuals on our website. If you go to our website under the association, under boards, you can see who our current board is. And Alina Rivera from Puerto Rico, she is the newest chair of the Executive Advisory Board, and she started serving June 1st, 2020, and she will serve through May 31st, 2021. And this is the rest of the Executive Advisory Board. If you want to take a moment. Yeah, next slide, that's fine, next slide. This is our Ethics Oversight Board. Karen Lassell is the chair of the board, also serving until May 31st, 2021. She'll be serving, currently serving her second term on our Ethics Oversight Board. As we mentioned, John Barrett, Greg Caruso, Sheila Aubrey, Michael Gregory, Shell Hyder, Tony Pinkney, and Richard Wise are serving on the Ethics Oversight Board. Next slide. Brian, you want to, since you liaison with this board.
Yes, we touched earlier on the incoming and outgoing members, and this is the demonstrates the current members on our board. Still championing some great projects. We're very appreciative to Ron Rudick, who's our current chair, Tracy Conan, recently elected, Dorothy Haramanak, Michael Kaplan, who is an advisor to the board, Christina LaRusso is new to the board, as is Laurie Maston. Dr. Robert Manetti continues his term on the board, as does Michael Mulder and Mark Norris, doing a great job. The intention over the next several months is to work towards the MAFF being accredited through the National Commission for Certifying Agencies, similar to the CVA. A lot of hard work will go into qualifying and applying for the accreditation, and hopefully by this time next year or sooner, we'll be pleased to announce that the MAFF has also earned accreditation similar to the CVA. So thanks to this board for their hard work and support. Next slide. Similarly, our standards board we spoke about earlier. Robert Carter is the incoming chair. Joshua Horn is the vice chair. Both of them are continuing their term on the board. Allery Mashbrook, new this year, as is Cindy Collier, new to the board this year. Brian Crotty continues his term on the board. Trish Garth Ofner, and I'm sorry, Trish, if I'm mispronouncing it, the awesome Trish joins the board this year. Mark Hansen is returning as an advisor to the board, along with Mark Cusick, NACVA's vice president, continuing his term as an advisor. Timothy McPoland, Nick Mears, Mike Sacamano continue their term this year, and Carl Steffen will also continue as an advisor to this board. We appreciate all of their hard work. Next slide.
Thanks, Brian. Again, this is our Valuation Credentialing Board. And our current chair, just recently elected in June, Peter Bullers is the current chair. And then we have newly elected Charlotte Clark, and then Sheila Q, Denise French, Gary Harden, Baria Giroudi, Wolfgang Neist, Janice Moore is an advisor. Wolfgang is also an advisor to the board. Jessica Lande, Anthony Marcella, and Alice Osiokra, she's also an advisor, and Stephen White. And again, the VCB that oversees our criteria for our accreditation programs for the CVA credential, this designation, this is really what sets us apart. And I want to emphasize that. And the newest initiative, just a brief announcement, the newest initiative with this current pandemic which we're in, we have pivoted to offering remote proctored exams for the exams. And so we are working hard with the Valuation Credentialing Board to work through our accrediting bodies, the NCCA and ANSI-ANSI, to offer remote proctoring. And so we are hopeful that we will have that capability here very soon, and that would also set us apart to be able to offer that remote proctoring, which is highly secure proctoring for this CVA exam. So we will be announcing that here, hopefully very soon, that we have that capability. And as Brian mentioned, the MAFF credential, we are pursuing accreditation through that. And that exam also is offered remotely because it's not accredited. We have a little bit of flexibility. And so it's interesting to see how accreditation changes that credential and just makes it increased reputability and the credibility, and that's why we are actively pursuing accreditation for the MAFF credential. All right, next slide. All right, Brian, if you want to go over the these prestigious awards, these great awards.
Yes, so many of you who are members of the association have taken a number of training courses from us, workshops, certification programs, webinars, and we also ask, which you'll hear throughout our conference, is that you please give us your evaluation scores for the presenter, the session, the material, so that we can understand that we're hitting the highest benchmarks of continuing education. And from the evaluation scores that are received by participants on an annual basis for the courses that they teach, our faculty who receive the highest scores cumulatively over teaching in the year receive awards from us. And so we're pleased to honor this year the Instructor of the Year being Howard Zandman. Howard teaches in our Foundations of Financial Forensics course. He also teaches in our Litigation Report Writing course and a number of our financial litigation special training clinics. He received the highest overall instructor evaluation from the participants in his course, and we're pleased to celebrate with Howard, who's been a long-time instructor, previous board member, actually previous executive advisory board member, very involved in the organization, cares a lot about continuing education, and congratulations to Howard for receiving our Instructor of the Year award. The Circle of Light award is the prior year's Instructor of the Year. So last year, TJ Lyles-Timms received the Instructor of the Year award, having the highest cumulative overall score, and so we will be passing the mantle to the Circle of Life for exceptional instruction to TJ Lyles-Timms. And next year, Howard Zandman will receive the Circle of Light award. All of our instructors do an incredible job, and we appreciate them, and this is certainly an award that goes to them for their hard work from the participants who take their courses, which is why you hear our staff always asking, if you're on a class or a webinar, please give us your feedback. The instructor wants to hear that. They want to know how they can achieve the objectives that you're wanting to learn in the course. We also want to hear that as well from headquarters perspective to make sure we're, again, hitting the right benchmarks for continuing education. Your feedback is important and valuable, and we appreciate these instructors for their hard work for you and the profession by sharing their knowledge and expertise. Congratulations to Howard and to TJ. The other award instructors who received high evaluation scores this year are here displayed: Peter Agripides, Lorenzo Carver, Jeff Diamond, Chris Hamilton, Rick Ray, Aria Giroudi, Michael Kaplan, and Mark Cusick, having received outstanding and high scores for teaching. Next slide. Laurie Maston, Jason Pierce, Michael Pachter, Ron Rudick, Rob Stutz, Garth Tebay, and Howard Zandman, outstanding instructors. All of our instructors are outstanding. These just happen to receive the highest evaluation scores. And again, congratulations and thank them for their hard work. The next award we're pleased to recognize is the Tom Porter Lifetime Achievement Award. Tom Porter, for those of you who don't know him, was a founding member of NACVA as early as the early 1990s. He was very instrumental in the curriculum and the body of knowledge, the examination, the standards process for our CVA certification. Part of the initial training for the CVA included litigation support services, which Tom and Michael, whom you all know, Michael Kaplan, championed as part of the initial core body of knowledge for the CVA. Over time, we determined, or the organization determined with Tom's leadership and Michael's and others, that the litigation support content that was part of the CVA was worth separating from the CVA curriculum into its own body of knowledge, its own training, and which led to, early on, the Certified Financial Forensic Analyst, the CFFA, that's now the MAFF. Tom unfortunately passed away some years ago, but was so involved in the organization that its founding with the CVA and establishing the MAFF, and the organization having really strong pillars in business valuation and in financial litigation, we felt it was worthy to recognize Tom's contribution to our organization, to the business valuation community at large, but he was also very involved in his local community. And to honor members of the association similar to Tom, who worked very hard for the association, the profession, but also their community, we established the Tom Porter Lifetime Achievement Award. This year, we're pleased to recognize Nancy Galt as the recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award. She's a long time member who served the organization and actually was very pioneering in establishing our NACVA state chapters and served on a number of boards. So congratulations to Nancy for being the recipient of this year's Tom Porter Lifetime Achievement Award. Posthumously, we are recognizing Ed Cordes, who was a long-term member of the organization as well. From the early 90s, very involved in pioneering the curriculum for the CVA, helping us to establish professional standards, the body of knowledge, the training, and mentored many, many hundreds, if not thousands, of CVA candidates over the term of him being involved in the organization. On a personal level, he was very involved in the state of Colorado where he resided, forming some charitable scholarship opportunities for young people, as well as being very involved with establishing and building the reputation and brand of our Colorado state chapter. We're very pleased to honor both of these members with the Tom Porter Lifetime Achievement Award this year. Next slide.
Now we have outstanding members. So this is where we select members. Our NACVA headquarters staff recognizes members on a quarterly basis that have demonstrated service to the association through volunteerism, length of service to the organization, leadership, raising the brand and the esteem of NACVA and its members and its designations. And so this is where we honor our outstanding members, which we'd like to honor Robert Carter, James D. Gabrielle, William Diddy, Sarah Speltz-Lobel, Dr. Robert Maniti, Carrie Merrifield, Tanisha Pinkney, and Alan Zip. Those are our outstanding members for this year. So I want to thank them for their volunteerism, their leadership, and giving back to the organization and helping others, raising the esteem of the organization, but also the esteem of others within the organization. So we really want to thank them and pay tribute to our outstanding members. All right, next slide.
And I think Greg is telling us we're almost out of time as we move to the next slide. Is that the case, Greg?
The show runs till 11:30 and it's 10 after.
But for our next segment, I mean,
Yeah,
are we
so
good on time?
we have 20 minutes for the remainder of the show.
Okay. So we will be diving into this afternoon at lunch more of honoring and recognizing our members. This is very important to us as an association. We're very member driven. Our members are behind every initiative that we take, every strategy, every policy, program, member benefit that's extended to the membership generally comes from an idea or a suggestion from a member. We really appreciate those who work tirelessly with headquarters behind the scenes and even in front of the scenes, interacting with our members and profession. We truly, truly appreciate them. And this afternoon at our luncheon, we will continue this awards in recognition of our members, and just again really appreciate them for how much they support the organization.
All right, thanks everybody. Great to be with you this morning.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to run through these slides, and so that you can at least get a glance at how many people are truly involved with our association. And I have gotten to know so many of them. They're great people. And then obviously we have young people, or at least getting young compared to me, involved, please.
We'll be recognizing them also this afternoon at lunch.
Wonderful.
We had some great guests this morning, I think, Greg.
Yep. And so here we are. We're going to jump over to Michael Kaplan and Judge the Honorable Christopher Yates. We have about 10 minutes. So if you all could launch into it, I will let you introduce yourself a little bit and get into your part. Thank you so much, all the honorees, and certainly everybody who showed up to help this morning. Michael?
Thank you, Greg. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Michael Kaplan. I looked through the roster of today's session, and I know many of the people who are in attendance, so I'm not going to take a lot of time introducing myself. I've been around for a long time. I live in the world of the courtroom. I live in the world of communications between expert witnesses and judges. I live in the world of bridging the gap between all the technical stuff that we do and that which makes sense in the courtroom, and assists the trier of fact in understanding what is going on and what's going on in our world. Judge Yates, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Chris Yates. I'm a trial court judge in Grand Rapids, Michigan. For your purposes, I suppose what matters the most is I run a specialized business docket where I hear only complex commercial cases. And way back in my past, in addition to my law degree, I have an MBA with a concentration in accounting and finance.
So Judge Yates and I initially crossed paths, it was about 7 or 8 years ago at the National Judicial College. We were both involved in the development and presentation of a curriculum in complex commercial litigation for judges, for business court judges. And one of the things that we realized, and let me add, there were other judges involved in this process. Judge Stephen Platt from Maryland and Judge Elizabeth Gonzalez from Nevada. And most recently, Judge Timothy Driscoll from New York has joined our group in the presentation of our programs at NACFA. But we presented a number of programs. We did this for a number of years for the National Judicial College. And when I say we, not only Judge Yates and Judge Platt and Judge Gonzalez, but we also had from the NACFA side of the equation, Rebecca Smith, Howard Zanman, Laurie Maston. We're all very actively involved in the development and delivery. Chris Hamilton was involved, Mark Cusick, Bob Grossman, Dermot O'Neill. So this was a team effort. And what we did was we developed a program and delivered a program multiple times to groups of judges on really understanding the stuff that we do. You know, what is this business valuation world all about? The business valuation experts come in there and they speak a language that nobody understands, with cap rates and discounts and cash flow projections and rev rules and, you know, and all kinds of tax court cases, which are typically not in the business courts, and methodology and all of that, and the world of economic damages and before and after, and the sales projection method and yardstick and you know, reasonable certainty and all of these things that we take into account. And what we realized is that so much of the technical stuff, so much of the real stuff that we are taught is real in the NACVA setting or in the setting of any of the business valuation and financial forensics organizations, is really something that really needs to be clarified and really needs to be turned into tangible real world experiences in the courtroom. And we discovered that there is a real gap between the expert and the court. There is a gap between the expert and the jurors. And if you think that the judges look to us to explain a lot of the stuff that we do and look to us to provide clarity to these complex financial concepts, you can just imagine with the jurors who perhaps don't have the same level of education or lifetime experiences as the judges do or the experts do, how much more they look to us. And over the years, I've discovered that there's a real disconnect there. So we're exploring how we can take what we do and turn it into something that makes sense in the courtroom, turn it into something that's persuasive in the courtroom. Because being more technically correct, more technically precise, more technically accurate doesn't quite get there. Judge Yates, you want to shed some light on that?
Sure. As one of the principal consumers of your testimony, not just the gatekeeper who decides who's qualified to testify, it's been my experience that there's a certain performance component to expert testimony, and there's a certain persuasiveness component to expert testimony. And then, of course, there are the fundamentals, which you know so well. And I think if you can draw from all of those strengths, you'll be a far more effective witness. I'll say this, that there are some of us who've really worked pretty hard to get our arms around valuation issues, even the most subtle points. But ordinarily, when you're testifying, it's before a jury rather than a judge who will make the final decision. And jurors can be a tough audience because they don't intuitively understand what you're saying. And as a result of that, there's a fair bit of simplification required on your part. And in addition to that, as Michael and the rest of us will explain in our panel this week, I hate to say it, but there's a certain performance component to it that's essential to your testimony. Listening carefully to the questions, responding in a way that's inoffensive and helpful. But in addition to that, just simply being an effective storyteller, I think, makes for an excellent expert witness. And I know Michael will fill in all the details as we move forward with the program. But for those of us who are judges who've had the opportunity to speak with all of you, not at all of you, with all of you, we've learned a great deal from you. And I hope we can share a little bit of what we've learned over all these years watching experts come in and either be extraordinarily effective or extraordinarily ineffective, depending on how their testimony goes.
We've seen the situations where one expert will come in and he will be using a discount rate of 18.4%. And another expert, the expert on the other side, will come in and she will be using a discount rate of 22.4%. And we've got 12 jurors and 2 alternates sitting in the jury box. And there they are, the 2 experts opposite each other, And each of them is trying to persuade the trier of fact, the jurors, that their number is right. I mean, it's not an easy task. And I submit they're not going to do it just by demonstrating that they used a data source that was more up to date, more current, more accurate, or that they used a data source that was more precise in terms of the margin of error, or that they used a data source that had been used before in cases like this. It takes more than that. If I may do just a brief commercial announcement, NACFA has a program that we've offered a number of years, and it's been very, very well received. We're doing it again this year, November, I think it's November 19th and 20th. It is Storytelling for Expert Witnesses. And the tagline is the truth, the whole truth, storytelling and persuasion. And it's about taking all of this complicated stuff and turning it into a compelling story that will capture the judge, capture the jury, and turn all of this, may I use the word boring, but this boring stuff that we as technical experts do, and it'll turn it into something that is interesting and comes alive and is meaningful. So if you're interested at all, look into the program. And anyone here, please feel free to reach out and phone me. And I'd be pleased to talk to you about that program or anything else you want to talk about, even if it's a case that you have that you want a perspective on. We see experts, get up on the witness stand.
Michael?
Yes.
I hate to cut you off, but we ran a little long early, and so I need to try to move on.
But I want to give Judge Yates another 5 minutes.
I'll cede my time.
I
I'll
would
save it for tomorrow.
I would love to hear Judge Yates for another 5 minutes. One of the hardest things of this show is I find all of this fascinating and really enjoy and love listening and learning from everybody. And then we run out of time.
Well, if you like what you heard, we are doing a morning session tomorrow on these things that we talked about today. So, please attend. We urge you to attend, and hope that you enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you both so much for making yourself available this morning and for the presentation. Like I said, it may have been brief, but I thought it was really helpful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to introduce Ed Mofrat, who is going to introduce John Leonetti, and we will talk about, or they're going to talk about, exit planning. Ed? I know he was on.
Can you hear me now?
I am here. Oh, hello.
Yes, we hear you, Ed. We don't see you, but we hear you.
Okay. My camera for some reason says it cannot go on. I don't
All
know
right, well, why don't you do the interview as you are, and I am going to click off, and I will reappear.
Oh, here I am.
There you go. Very good.
Okay. Before I start, I wanted to thank my fellow professionals at AVW, particularly Greg Caruso. He thanked everybody else, and nobody's thanking him. And my dear friend and fellow professional, Brian Jones, who've done a tremendous amount of work. It's a thankless profession. I don't see anybody thanking them. Thank you guys for putting it all together. I know behind the scenes how much work you have to do to make this happen. Thank you again. And then it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. John Leonetti. John Leonetti is an outstanding attorney. He has a master's in finance. He's a CM and AA. Over 20 years ago, he founded Pinnacle Equity Solutions. And it really is my honor to be interviewing him. In the interest of time, let me jump right into it, John. What is exit planning, and why should we all have an exit plan? What should we worry about?
Thank you, Ed. And before I get started, I also want to say my thanks to NACFA and everybody, as well as yourself, for giving me the opportunity to participate. To your question, Ed, exit planning, very simply, is the process that many appraisers are familiar with of understanding the value of a business and then helping that business owner come to some higher level of understanding about how that business can be monetized so that it can help that owner or the owner's family or the multiple owners reach their goals and oftentimes put the company in a better position to get to the next level beyond the owner's stewardship. And Michael was just talking about storytelling. Very quickly, the story of millions of baby boomer business owners out there today is that they have built up over many decades, many millions, in the aggregate trillions of dollars of wealth. And they have really very little information or advice or consultants that are helping them monetize and protect the wealth that's in that business. And the challenge is that there is such a large amount of information that the owner needs to know, and a very challenging experience, typically complex, and which makes it challenging to turn that illiquid wealth into liquidity, that owners today are very ill prepared for what amounts to typically the largest financial and emotional transaction of their lives. As many business appraisers can appreciate, because you're looking at the value and measuring the value on a regular basis, there is a lot of value in these businesses, but oftentimes the business is very dependent on the owner, or the succession plan is not set up. So what impacts value, which is risk and cash flow, that risk component is what we try to address by making the business less risky, more transferable, and having the owner do more planning around that to be in a better position.
In the interest of time, let me compact my questions for you, if you don't mind, John. Let's talk about the current market dynamics. How about the environments of the current market? How would that impact the planning?
Yep, so good question. Thank you, Ed. Clearly, COVID has impacted all businesses and all people. And I like to think of businesses in three categories. There are essential businesses which continue to do business and conduct their business. That's number one. Number two is non-essential businesses that continue to operate and innovate. And I can't think of a better example, a more timely one than NACFA, which is non-essential, but has quickly and very nimbly changed its formatting and changed its delivery and continued to deliver services to the marketplace. And then the third category, of course, is non-essential businesses, mostly in the hospitality space, primarily the most known, that just had to close their doors because of social distancing. And if you take a look in the marketplace, there are a lot of businesses in categories number 1 and 2 that are either essential or non-essential and continue to do business, which means there continue to be a lot of businesses that have value. And there's a saying in the market today that flat is the new up 50%. So business owners as a whole have seen COVID as a shot across the bow. And today's marketplace, in many respects, is busier than it's ever been, especially for categories number 1 and 2 of businesses. For category 3, it's clearly going to take time for those businesses to come back. But for categories 1 and 2, which are so many of our clients that we work with, there is such an opportunity now, and the owners are reacting because this COVID was a shot across the bow, and they see that there's a lot of fragility in their business, which creates a huge opportunity for advisors and consultants to incorporate exit planning into their practice.
Okay, let's say a typical advisor is planning the rest of his career. How do they incorporate exit planning into it? If you don't mind explaining real quick.
No, thanks, Ed. And what I would say for many on today's broadcast is exit planning is probably a lot how many started incorporating valuation into their practice, and maybe doing it today. It's an added service offering to clients, to business owner clients, in your existing practice. That's where most of the market is today, not at full-time exit planners, and it's available to new advisors and consultants through training and certification, and through our affiliation with NACVA. I'm very pleased to be a part of this broadcast to mention that our certified business exit consultant is now supported by NACVA and is available to the NACVA members.
Okay, how can a CPA get more information in this regard? Delve deeper into it, if you will.
Thank you. Greg, I see you come on, which means my time is close.
As
10
I
seconds.
said, I hate to do this to everybody, but
No problem.
compressed
Appreciate the
show here.
opportunity.
Compressed show here, first day of the conference. We really appreciate you, John, and Ed for being available and giving us that little clip. I will certainly vouch in, as I do some business brokerage, that the businesses that are unaffected for one reason or another, or very slightly affected, there is a lot of interest in them right now. So the market is living on.
I agree. Last quick statement you can make, John. Let everyone know how to reach you and how to find more about your.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. We have the International Exit Planning Association, the IEPA. So it's www.theiEPA.com, and it has all the information on the International Exit Planning Association. Very much like NACVA, our sister company is Pinnacle Equity Solutions. Our next certification class starts right after Labor Day, a few weeks after Labor Day on October 7th. We're taking applications and filling it now. For anybody that's interested, you can go to the website. You could also just call the office and speak with anyone here. We're back in the office, social distancing, 781-821-2608. Again, 781-821-2608, or just email me, john@pinnacleequitysolutions.com. Happy to answer any questions and provide any information. And Brian, thank you. You guys have been wonderful supporters of our program and promoting it, and we really appreciate that as well.
Thank you again, everybody. You guys are doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, John.
Oh, and I'm going to say one last thing and then let Brian and Jonathan finish. Please, this is a wonderful conference. I got so much out of the first week in June, and I'm really looking forward to doing it this week, getting a whole lot more. And so do attend, do the questionnaires, the ratings of the teachers.
Yes.
Thank you for being here, and we hope to see you again Thursday the 6th. And with that, I will let Brian and Jonathan wrap. Thank you.
No, it's a wrap. We had a great show. Again, welcome back, everybody, and thank our guests this morning, John, Michael, Judge Yates, for participating. And we look forward to working with all of you through the conference. Again, if you have any questions or need support, you can reach out to our awesome staff through the help desk on the Super Conference platform, or call our office directly. We've got some great sessions ahead for this week, and we hope that you get engaged, get involved, and enjoy your conference.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. Enjoy conference. Have a great week. We'll be in touch. Thanks so much.